SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity.
What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. Okay, my name is Neil with SFJ 4x4 Simpson Family Jeeps. I'm not letting him get it out. And this is the Mad Scientist, and this is the Italian Stallion, the producer.
And
Wow, feeling a type of way this morning.
And we're not sponsored by Crocs, but we should be.
We are going to start selling an in-house croc and per the Mad Scientist croc charms. Well, listen, folks, listen. I am of the personal belief, and of course, Jeff is holding out, and Greg certainly has no respect for them.
I like how you say holding out like there's a chance I might actually try them.
Listen.
I bet you he gets Steeler Crocs. He'll wear them.
I don't know about that.
I really did believe at one point in time no self-respecting man should be rocking the Crocs as a daily footwear item.
I don't care.
Despite the fact
I don't care if you wear the Crocs. I have no intent to wear the Crocs.
So despite the fact that I had many friends who were good, authentic, manly men, this is not discrediting anybody else in any capacity, but who wore Crocs, right? And I was just like, bleh. And then one day I put them on, and it changed my life.
All you have to do is put them on. Just go like this.
Yep.
And put them on.
Yep. And then you showed up today in this spectacular SFJ color palette set of Crocs.
Yes.
And I am in the market for a new pair.
Yep.
So if anybody wants to sponsor
And they were on sale.
Which even
that's
better.
the quickest way to our heart.
Right.
And I realized, too, that Van Halen must have stole our colors. That's the second time it's been referenced now.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, you walked in. I'm like, oh, you got the Eddie Van Halen Crocs.
Van Halen stole our colors. That's right. That's right. They did.
His Striper guitar is based off of SFJ 4x4.
Yes,
exactly
that's right. That is exactly right.
So anyways, in the comments, we've got Billy Joe saying good morning. everyone.
First.
Nate, good morning. Rob from Daddy Jeep is saying morning, guys. Jeannie's saying good morning. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. God bless all of you for what you do for all of us. Mudhorn Gladiator, morning, y'all. Jug Jeepers, good morning. Billy Joe, good morning, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. And Bill McWilliams, good morning, guys.
Good morning to everybody joining us. And if you are listening in your ear holes somewhere across the globe, how spectacular is it to be part of the SFJ family and this big global family we have across 6 out of the 7 continents and 90 plus countries? Thank you for prioritizing your downloading and listening time with us. But equally important, you too can join us on most Mondays at 10:19 a.m. and
Eastern time.
yes, and you can jump into the comments and say good morning and share with other like-minded individuals as you see fit. So thank you to all of those people who do jump on in the Mondays. You can schedule yourself a fake meeting.
Absolutely.
You can go to the bathroom on company time and sit there and hang out for at least say hi.
Yeah.
You could set your alarm if you're, coastal from the West Coast or something. You might be, waking up and jumping right in with us.
I think my all-time favorite's still the courtroom listening of the episode.
Fantastic.
That was my favorite.
Fantastic. So definitely some fun stories. And we want to hear from you. So we'll tell you later on how you can get involved with us and how you can direct text message us or contact us via email to share. But in this exact moment, if you are so willing, we would love for you to give us a review, preferably on the iTunes, Spotify, Audible channels. And, leave us a review about the podcast. Let other people know how, how we're doing, and take a moment to share at that point, and let your friends and family know how cool the Jeep life can be, and your participation in this big, awesome Jeep family. So,
And when you do that, you need to then take a picture of it and send it to Jeff so that you can win the most useful, shortest purple strap you'll ever know.
No.
no.
But
I mean, you do win it.
There are some other goodies in with that'll make it worth
That will
it.
actually make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
But you do get a dumb purple strap. So,
Yeah. Yep.
but today we are going to be continuing our conversation about oil and
That's right.
lubrication. And if you are interested in hearing about our weekend shenanigans and how I may or may not have ended up on a Jumbotron, you're going to want to hang out through the outro credits, and we'll be chatting then.
Oh, or the trench of concrete.
I can't wait to hear you guys retell your shenanigans from Saturday. Where did we cover last week, and what are we covering this week?
This week we're going to talk more about oil additives. We're going to talk about Molly Bond. We're
Mhm.
going to break down synthetic versus conventional a little further and get into the engine knock, oiling issues, 3.6 Pentastar failures, and oil maintenance and oil milkshakes.
Guys, I can't begin to tell you how much I nerd out on this subject and how much I get really excited. It really rivals my own personal interest in U-joint technology.
The question is, can we finish this episode today? Because last week you were confident we could do it in one,
I
and I
think
said there's no way.
Right now, we just table grease. It doesn't even get
Correct.
into it.
Grease
That'll
is
be
a whole nother topic.
Another topic, and we're restricting him from talking about grease. We're just going to talk about oils. And yes,
I'll start bringing out the bad puns if you start talking about grease.
And we are weird enough that it's Sunday morning. I'm starting my day by sending them infomercials on lubricity of oils.
Yeah, it was awesome. And which actually
was a
spurred us to kind of conceptualize in the future, we're going to be addressing fuel delivery.
Yep.
Because realistically, the video was at its core initially about port injection versus direct injection.
Yep.
And we're going to be talking just a little bit about direct injection today
Because of oil.
because of oil, and specifically 4xe technology. So if you're curious about hybrid, vehicles and your JL and maybe JT in the future.
So I made a reference that I would make bad puns if you got into grease. However, Nate beat me to bad jokes and said everyone is so excited to hear about Neil's oil.
Now,
us too.
I did think that it's valuable to share that I think that with any good factual representation, much of my information spurs from two specific kind of entities, and one is going to be Schaefer's oil, and the other is going to be AMSOIL oil. And as far as those companies concerned, there was a period of time, I haven't checked recently, I should have, or I meant to prior or between podcasts, but they actually had really, really good help sections that had a lot of credible research. And
They brought the scientists in.
They brought the scientists in, and they had all of those technical articles on their websites at one time.
I think my favorite part of the additives and the lubricity factor is, I had dealt with AMSOIL in a previous life as just a general automotive garage. And, they come in and it's a little bit like Mary Kay or Tupperware, where they want you to have a party. They're going to tell you all the things. They're whining and dining you. So I remember I literally came in, wasn't full time yet here, and we got the Schaefer's rep to come in.
We did that with Schaefer's.
And they bring in this machine.
Yes.
And we're mechanical people, so we're like, ooh, what's this? And they get a ball bearing, not a ball bearing, a roller bearing, and they hand it to everybody, and they're like, okay, you look at this. Yep, it's not damaged. Then they put it sideways on a wheel of death. And you're allowed to bring any oil you want to the party.
Yes.
Or any lubricant that you may think is
You may think is a lubricant, because they were like, yeah, go ahead and spray it with fluid film, which
Yep.
we know and love.
Yep.
And they're like, fluid film's not a lubricant.
Yeah, and me and Greg were ready to throw down.
Right.
Like, we've used it for lubricant for years. You know, we freed up things with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, no,
Nope.
no, it's not.
It's not a lubricant.
And the Molly that's in the Schaefer's just lets it run sideways
Yeah.
and run and run and run.
And does not squeal and make other horrendous noises, nightmarish noises. And so we have this relationship specifically with that hands-on. But like I said, there's a bunch of good tech articles out there related to this. And so I wanted to cite our references. And so then ultimately we take some of that technical data, and then we are nerding out on other YouTube videos. We are nerding out on other representations or other things that, information that it would be at the hardware or auto parts stores. And that's, kind of, I wanted people to have a basis, but some of this is actually credibly documented
Well, then on
part
top
of the
it,
technical data.
we were so excited. We went out and put Schaefer's in everything.
Yes.
Lawnmowers, ATVs, Jeeps, like anything that sat still long enough that took oil got Schaefer's.
Yes. Yes. And so we'll be kind of sharing with you some of that. And then, as we mentioned in the last podcast, we are peculiarly enough in the hotbed of where black gold was found.
Yep.
And so if you're listening to us across the globe, we have this kind of taken for granted experience, but initially where oil was struck in a commercial capacity, we are right there, and between the industrialists that arguably kind of revolutionized America, our little hotbed area was right there during oil, steel, and et cetera production.
The trifecta.
Yes.
And then as we continue through too, just for a fun fact, I'm going to have you guys try to pronounce the actual word for Molly,
Nope.
and we're going to talk about that. I've got the legit pronunciation of my own.
Woof.
I don't believe you.
Woof.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
And I'm going to mention Charles is saying if it's leaking, it still has oil.
and we will talk about maintenance.
And
fair.
that's fair. I can appreciate that. It's when it stops leaking that you really have to be concerned.
Yeah, so also Charles had said good morning, and so did Robert.
Absolutely.
So-
Good morning. Good morning.
Let's talk about oil additives first, though. What are common types of additives for oil?
Well, obviously Molly, because we've already
Sawdust.
maybe. That doesn't help that leak go away.
It does. It does.
Then we're gonna start talking about like black pepper in your coolant.
Old wives' tale stuff. Right?
Yeah. Drop an egg in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
So there's zinc.
Yep.
There's detergents.
Yep.
And what is your favorite one? Friction modifiers.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So as a generalization, like Jeffrey sharing, and we'll keep it light and fluffy as far as I'm concerned. We talked about straight weight, so we talked about a lot about friction modifiers because that fires me up. They're necessary evil, folks. Don't get me wrong, but I ended up expanding upon a whole conversation with my sister just recently because
family conversations include oil.
yes. And I was like, I just did a podcast on this because again, I am choosing to change her oil from 020 to 520
Mm-hmm.
for continued
For prosperity.
yes, continue expand upon reasons. And I was, kind of breaking down if we have a finite measurement per volume. So if we just utilize the concept of 100 parts of volume, that arguably, if you have 100 parts and so 70 of it is, and I'm making these numbers up, they're completely arbitrary. 70 of it, it's going to be the 20. 15 parts of it are going to be the zero weight. 15 parts of it then are friction modifier.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, because I need to move that 0 to the 20. Whereas if I take the same 100 parts per volume, and I make that 520. Now, what ends up happening is, and again, the numbers can kind of give or take a little bit. 70 parts are going to be the 20, and I get to have 20 parts of the 5 and only 10 parts of modifier, because you always have a finite parts per volume measurement. And so the more actual oil you have or lubricant you have, the less modifier. So as that 5 moves closer to that 20, it needs less transitioning friction modifier in there.
At what point did her eyes glaze over?
Yeah, well, pretty much when I told her I nerd out on oil, she just wanted to know that I was going to slow down her oil consumption in her engine. But it was an interesting point, and one of the talking points that Jeff had brought up is that modern day engines appear to be consuming oil in excess to our vintage engines.
Yep.
And the problem is that technology has changed, because when our vintage engines consumed oil, it meant something.
Yeah.
And now when our modern engines, air quotes, consume oil, it actually is something different.
Yes.
And the problem is the ripple effect of knowledge that humans share, as the average consumer has not caught up to recognize that these are two different situations.
Yep.
As a general owner operator, I just know that I put in 5 quarts and it does not, and I'm low on my stick before my oil change.
Yep.
Right? And that was ultimately the big piece that we have to continue to share, specifically with our customers just within the last 3 to 5 years of vehicle production.
Yep.
And of course, then our customers who have really tired, worn out engines from many moons ago.
Yes.
And so, where is that coming from? And obviously we talked about tightness of tolerances in the last podcast. And additionally, we talked about the thinness or the highly viscous nature of our newest oils, and how it can be consumed in our modern engines. Now, because of that, and we really didn't even exactly touch upon conventional and synthetic, but as we talk about those additives that Jeffrey had mentioned, detergents, and then zinc, which we've seen less zinc at this point in our oils.
Yep.
That was a big additive for the conventional oil base. We now see the utilization of moly-based products.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Schaefer's oil, which is one that that we're not sponsored by, but we heavily represent as a good quality choice for people, has moly kind of engineered right into the particulate volume measurement.
And kind of what they say is that the idea of moly is that you're building up layers of moly and they call it moly bond, to protect all the surfaces in your motor. And then if you're going to have a boo-boo, so a dry start or something that's less than ideal, and it takes something off. You're taking off a layer or two of moly, and you're not taking off a layer or two of bearing material or metal.
Correct.
And Molybond is specifically a friction reducer.
Yes. And I believe Molybond is Schaefer's proprietary,
I believe so.
Kind of their namesake, because we've had...
because the technical name is that? It's kind of like with medication where you've got
Neil tries to
I want to hear him say that.
I want to tell you a quick fun story that's probably not at all relevant, but it's still fun. So I had put Schaefer's in my lawnmower.
You're not allowed to cheat and use the phone.
Don't worry, I'm not. You do you, boo.
For reasons unrelated to the oil, the governor failed. So I had to take the camshaft out and replace it. And you know what's really hard to hold on to when it's covered in moly bond? A camshaft. You drop that thing like all the time. So, I firsthand feel it works very well.
Yeah.
Its proof is in the pudding for you.
Yes.
So here's the thing. Molybdenum disulfide.
No.
Moly. There's a B in there.
Yeah, there is a B in there.
There's a peculiar B.
You got disulfide right.
I got disulfide right. Well, that's the easy one. molybdenum. Molybdenum.
So the technical way of pronouncing it is molybdenum.
Nope. Not. No.
Molybdenum. Molybdenum.
Why do scientists do this to us?
Molybdenum. I feel like I'm singing the 12 Days of Christmas all over again.
Right?
100%.
So the interesting piece, and I can't get the quick number off of the Googling, but Schaefer's big sell point, again not sponsored, is that moly at a molecular level bonds to itself 32 or 39.
Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
That's right. People don't actually care.
7 to 40 zillion, somewhere in there is how many layers you'll get.
So this is something you cannot see. This is something that none of us can actually see, touch,
But you can feel
smell
it when you drop that camshaft.
Well, there's that. But that at a molecular level, these layers of molybdenum go ahead and start to layer upon each other and themselves.
And they actually present this that, hey, you're switching the Schaefers. First, the Schaefers is going to go in and just be the bad cop and clean everybody out.
Right, because of the detergents.
And then they're going to molly everything.
Yes.
Paint the town with molly.
Yes. And because of that, they actually advertise that if you have an older engine that has ran other oils the majority of its life, you may actually see oil consumption in the first 1 or 2 oil changes
Pick up
and
get worse.
And we have factually experienced that ourselves. 100%.
And they have fun million-mile engine teardown videos.
They do.
That you should totally go watch.
They also, as a sales company, will sell you oil check kits. So the health kits. I'm kind of forgetting the name of it, but it's actually a kit where they'll analyze or analysis oil analysis kits. There we go.
Been hanging out with Scott too much.
Woo. Gracious, folks. Gracious. Yeah, they'll actually sell you these kits because they're so confident in their processes. But with that said, and I've actually had quite a few customers who they swear by Mobil One or they swear by Valvoline. I was a Valvoline guy as a teenager for no particular reason. Ashland, Ohio. It was Ashland, Ohio. I think there was a refinery.
My dad blamed Valvoline on him blowing up a motor when he was a kid.
You know what? God love Fred. So we had customers who would add moly powder to their oil changes.
Yep.
And that's the same thing that obviously, Schaefer's is just doing. They're claiming theirs to be engineered into the oil itself.
We did have baggies of powder here.
I remember just dumping Marvel's Mystery and Lucas into my oil constantly.
Which is a thing, which is a thing. But as
Jeff
far as
some thick, I guess.
And there's a song about that. So here's the thing. I'm trying to make this
After Hours episode yet.
I'm trying to make this
that for that
as an analogy about like paint, right? And so if you were to take a raw piece of steel and you were to just kind of take a rattle can and paint over it, and now all of a sudden you were to try and scratch it with a screwdriver or a hammer or something, the possibility for you to scratch through that single coating of paint is pretty high, right? And now that I have scratched through that single coating of paint, now I've exposed the raw material to the environment.
Versus putting a clear coat over it?
Well, you could just do a coating of paint and a clear coat, but the argument on these higher performance oils is that first, we're going to take that raw piece of metal and we're going to galvanize it. We're going to galvi dip it. After we galvi dip it, we're going to phosphate it and add a layer of mechanical bonding material.
Then the special herbs come out.
Then we're going to actually paint it 3 times. Layer it, then layer it again, then layer it a 3rd time. Now we got 3 coats of paint on there. And then we clear it, right? So that concept, now if I take a screwdriver or a hammer to that, the likelihood of me scratching through the surface to kind of expose the raw material is almost slim to none.
Yeah.
at least with under normal use or a normal scratch, right? Because we have, Galvi, phosphate, 3 coats of paint, and clear. You got 6 layers, post raw material. And that is how, honest to Pete, we've done some frames for some of our restorations. We've done some different, bumpers or whatever,
Yeah. But that is basically what Molly is doing.
Correct. And any of these is high quality oil manufacturers are claiming that their intention is to protect the raw materials contained within your engine. Because, of course, I have, again, things I nerd out on. Our engine contains massive, incredible explosions. You have literally, you are sitting behind something where it is exploding 100 times a minute or better. I mean, more than 100 times.
Yeah.
And yet you are
Between
none the
7
wiser.
and 700,000.
Right. Yes. It's perfect. And you are none the wiser.
Yeah.
And the fact that then our expectation is that this mini explosion factory should last hundreds of thousands of miles
Absolutely.
is so freaking cool.
Yep.
And yet the average person is like, I just need to get to work. And I can't believe I have to do an oil change. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. It's so cool. And these oil manufacturers do and try to ensure that they protect those raw materials in the engine.
And speaking of oil manufacturers, Fred's in the comments saying, back in the day, it was STP, which is also a good band.
It is. And I did put a lot of STP in my 360 for many oil changes.
I like that Scott supported me on the band, and you're just like, why? We're on oil. You're so stuck on oil right now.
I am.
Normally, you'd be the one supporting me on the band comment.
I know.
Guess we know where he lies on STP.
Yeah, he doesn't like the Stone Temple Pilots. That's apparent.
No. I mean, I had their album. I did.
No, you don't.
I did. I did. I know exactly.
Let me guess, you tested oil on it to see if it would.
No. I honestly, I actually think I just found it when I moved not too long ago.
That's funny.
I don't know where I could produce a CD player at this point, honestly. Scott's house.
Yeah.
Scott probably has a VHS.
He's got the 8-track.
He's got the 8-track.
Jaga Jeeper says Slick 50.
Yep. There's a bunch of these different oil additives, and arguably there is a degree of benefaction that comes from.
Come on, man. Slick 50, you put it in, and then you drain it out, and you run it until it blows up. And it just doesn't blow up.
It just doesn't. Well, but that example is basically the concept that Schaefer's came in with their bearing machine.
Absolutely.
And so I don't discredit any of these manufacturers. In fact, I lump them all into, they all have their little fine-tuned piece that is intended to make them stand out in this crowd. Because at its core, oil was good. And we discovered that as a society who fell in love with the automotive community, the industry, because, these vehicles transported us somewhere that the horse and buggy couldn't take us, right? So now as we progress and we make that, I loosely make this big transition from horse and buggy to the petro-based race, and something we brought up recently where we talked about how many people could not fathom that vehicles would be able to go coast to coast because we lacked infrastructure to refuel them.
Yep.
We are once again, as an automotive industry, facing the same criticism all over again with EV technology.
Yep.
And as an alternative or a suggestion is this hybrid technology that would expose us to part electricity, part ICE engine, internal combustion engine. But as the video that you shared with Jeff and I, which we will expand upon in a future podcast, we have garnered further efficiency out of direct port injection.
Well, direct injection, not direct port.
Direct. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I combined port injection and direct injection.
So I'm going to take this one because otherwise he'll go off on a tirade. So
I'm going to still tirade about hybrid engines and how this applies to your 4xe.
Before we go to any of those, Bill McWilliams is asking, is even flow a viscous reference?
Are we supposed to do it? Is this the dad puns that are telling me that I'm geeking out too much? Wait till I tell you about U-joints, folks.
Absolutely.
Do you want to hear about a special about U-joints and needle bearings?
We could do
Triple
probably a
seal?
month series on U-joints. Anyway, if you don't know what the difference between port injection and direct injection is, and I'm going to try to make this brief since this is just, you'll see the tie in a minute. Port injection came out in the 80s on our Renix Jeeps and then into the HO series, where you're spraying fuel at the valve. And then as the valve opens, the air drags the fuel into the cylinder. Mm-hmm. And basically, the idea of that was over a carburetor. The carburetor is just belching gas into the intake, and then it coats the intake runners with fuel.
Yes.
So therefore, you have evaporation of fuel, and you have some casualty loss of fuel there. So just by spraying it closer to where it's going, we have less evaporative use of the gas. So now it's more efficient.
Yeah, greater combustion.
And the big difference in the 90s and 2000s is we got smart enough that we could realize that we went from what's called a batch fire to a time fire with our injectors. Basically, batch fire was we're just spraying these injectors at this time. The valve may be open, it may be shut, it may not take the fuel. Obviously, that's not efficient. So then we got to a point with the technology where we're going, hey, that valve is about to open, so we better spray that injector now.
More critical computer control.
So anyway.
And I'm the one who was going on a tirade, just FYI.
Well, I was thinking I could even jump in on this because then you get into the Hemi engine with the.
We're
technology
supposed
that
to be
shut
talking
down
about oil.
cylinders.
Stop it, Jeff. Anyway, so we realized that we can spray the fuel directly into the cylinder, and now we have even more less loss of fuel. But we did not understand some of what that, because if you change one thing, you change 15. Because of that, you don't have the air dragging the fuel in. So now it's not aerated as it once was when it was port injection.
Just aerated, just FYI.
Whatever.
That's fine. That's fine.
You just really wanted to correct him on a word today.
No. I mean, I figure I let lubricity go several times. So I'm just going to call it lubricity at this point because it's kind of like electricity. But
Curiosity.
100%. So, but I somehow he mixed areola and aerated together.
When you don't let it tirade.
I know. I'm like over here like rocking. I'm like so ready to go. My tism is ready to jump in and just expand so far.
I was literally ready to just say, okay, Neil, and now you.
No.
And instead he went on this 15-minute tirade about the tirade.
I'm being a good boy. Here we go. I'm back.
Back to oil.
Back to oil.
So because we have...
No, you said it was Neil's turn.
Because we have the fuel sprayed into the cylinder, we get hot and cold spots in the cylinder, and that causes what, Neil?
Fuel leak down. Is that what you wanted? Is that...
Well, you have to explain that now.
All right. Yeah, I'm so excited. So 4xe listeners, or if you give a crap about hybrid technology that's, plug-in hybrid.
And it is 2.0 people as well.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. I should
crossover.
Extend this to people who have 2.0 turbo engines because, as we will expand upon within fuel delivery, this direct injection and the timing of the computer you're saying allows us to make big horsepower out of a much smaller package, right?
Yes. Especially with forced induction.
Correct. But what ends up happening is because exactly the moment you said where we have these kind of rich spots, we have a little too much fuel. That fuel is a solvent by comparison to a lubricant. And what it does is it actually wipes away. So we've all kind of reasonably heard about washing away your cylinder walls, at least in older technology, that if you had too much fuel, but not so much that you hydrolock the cylinder, but too much fuel, that you would actually wash out your cylinder walls. And what that is that those layers of lubricant protection that we talked about in the engine have now gotten to the raw source material, and now we have an insufficient amount of lubricity, and the side of the cylinder is now being scored by the piston or rings itself.
And to make it even worse, now we don't have the sealing of the rings with the oil.
100%.
And now that some of that fuel is starting to propagate down into the crankcase.
Yes, which, if you are at all interested in the 4xe forums, you will all hear them at some point in time kind of lose their nugget on when their vehicle goes into form. Which, Jeffrey, Google form and tell me tell our listeners what the exact it's oil remediation maintenance cycle, something or other. And we'll tell you what the form system is. I know,
F.
but just hear me out.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is the fact that you're driving
Fuel, oil, refresh mode.
Ooh.
fuel, oil, refresh mode. What you're literally doing is you're trying to drive the vehicle, the engine, and 2.0 people, if you're just ever driving, my dad drove 3 blocks to work, basically his whole life. He hardly ever put miles on vehicles because he would basically fire it up, drive over to work, and then, drive home at night.
Yep.
And only because sometimes he would get caught by a train, and that was the whole thing. He'd have to go a little further around.
And then that's idle miles as well.
Do you
Right.
want the explanation for what it actually is and why it's doing it?
Do you want to read it off?
Yeah. The form appears as a maintenance function on your cluster when the direct injection engine needs to reach operating temperature to prevent fuel dilution in the oil, or when the 90-day fuel timer on the gas tank needs to be reset. To resolve the oil dilution cause, you need to drive the vehicle for an extended period to get the engine hot enough to burn off the fuel in the oil.
Enter Sunday drives.
So this is the big thing when it comes to our oil. We can create the best possible lubricants in efficient engines,
Yep.
but you change one thing, you change 100. And so now we have this further issue where we are actually, and we used to deal with this when we thought that just the rings were worn out on your piston.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an old problem. This is similar, but a new and completely, I don't want to say it's unrelated, but they're not the same.
For a different reason.
For a different reason. And so ultimately, you have to bring the vehicle up to operating temperature that dissipates the fuel that is currently mixed into the oil.
Which
because
is the fancy way of saying it burned that off.
yes,
It then makes the oil more pure. But you also, if you're in that situation like Neil's dad was in, you want to do sooner oil changes instead of longer oil changes, because you are actually using up the oil quicker because of this process.
that is exactly it. There's a lot of misnomers and misinformation within these 2.0 turbo owners. And arguably, folks, this is going to be a number of engines going this way. The 3.0 Hurricane, go ahead and Google that. See if that is a direct injection.
If it's
Jeffrey.
not, I'll be shocked.
Correct. I believe it is. Because it's a massive, the 3.0 Hurricane, which is almost exclusively used in the Grand Wagoneers or the Wagoneer platform, modern day,
Yes.
is also forced air inducted.
Twins,
So-
turbocharged, inline 6.
Yeah, I love the concept, but we changed one thing, we changed 100, and now we took these really quality refined oils, and now the problem is we're actually exposing them to higher fuel content.
We're using solvent to lower, basically to offset some of this oil that we have built up over the years. So we're actually causing a dilution of that moly or those additives, and now that oil has to carry that solvent as well.
Right. And not get broken down by it, right? And so then the manufacturers, understanding this, force you into form.
Which Joe Brilla is Twitch. Don't say form to a 4xe owner.
Right, right. And I mean, I'm telling you, folks, as an individual who hangs out in those forums and in those spaces, this is like, this is a dirty, dirty word amongst that world, because it is a new concept. And of course, what a number of people have resulted to is running out to the highway and basically hammering down into, obviously those Jeeps are an 8-speed Jeep, hammering and holding it in third gear so that the thing tacks out at 4, 5, 6,000 RPMs to get the Jeep out of form because they're trying to burn off the solvent or the gas in the crankcase.
Yep.
Were you going to add something?
Nope, you did good.
Okay. And so
You get a cookie.
understand that this is not going away. This, in combination with our fuel delivery, of the future, which we'll be expanding upon in future podcasts, and our oil, which is so thin as it is,
Yep.
this is here to stay. This is an issue that will not be resolved within the next 5 to 7 years.
And right now we have this weird scenario where you have a Wrangler that has both a 3.6 option and the 2.0 turbo option. And the 3.6 is old school. It is port injected. You have a 2.0 turbo that is direct injected. And you could literally have someone trade in a 3.6 Jeep and go to a 2.0 Jeep, not really realize the profound change
Right.
from one to the other. And they're going to go like, well, I'm going to maintenance it exactly like my old Jeep. You shouldn't, because they're actually totally different drive lines.
Right. And we do recommend, I love the 2.0 turbo and I love the 4xe, kind of hybrid nature. We have expanded upon recently how you were recently exposed to an e-torque. 3.6, was it e-torque?
So in some of the full-size trucks, they have a 3.6. Obviously, when we get in the trucks, we got to have Hurspers. So
we're talking the Dodge Mopar platform.
So
Congratulations, Savage.
They have an e-torque, which has the world's biggest alternator I've ever seen, that is liquid cooled.
Mm-hmm.
And as the truck needs more it gives it Hurspers by helping the engine spin up. But that is an awesome technology, in my opinion, because now we have the best of both worlds. And in that situation, you're not plugging it in. It's taking care of business itself. It just does magic, and you get more benefit out of it. So because you're using electric, you're using less fuel. You have more power. You can tow Chevys across lines and make sport owners mad.
Right.
With your V6.
Right. I can dig it. It is a concept or similarly enough related to being able to kind of marry internal combustion engine with some form of electrification. And again, I love that idea. I'd actually love to see it out of a turbo diesel.
Yes.
I think there's so many of us who would love to see, turbo diesel technology married to, some type of electrification and see where that goes.
I'm going to jump back to comments just for a minute because we had a few people jump in too. Joe O'Brien saying good morning from OBX. Jeff Babbitt saying good morning, looking good. And then Roy Hill saying good morning, buds. Also, Joe Brilla did say that he's been in form once and it was fairly uneventful, but he's heard the horror stories.
And the thing is, if you do routine maintenance and if you go on longer drives, then the likelihood of your Jeep ending up in some type of maintenance or service mode is less likely.
If you drive back and forth to Moab 6 times a year, you're probably not going to experience it. Yes, Joe, that's you.
Yeah, that's a reference to Joe.
Or on a Saturday you come out and see the shop and visit and buy some parts, and then Sunday you go to the farmer's market and you go off looking at waterfalls and the lake and that kind of stuff, and now you've no longer needed form.
Right. I mean, that is how the engineers intended the system to work. Now, as we kind of continue and transition our conversation with this, would a conventional oil versus a synthetic oil make a difference?
So, in my opinion, the synthetic is a much better oil. It's engineered better for what our today's engines
But
are.
synthetic causes leaks.
On an old Willis, it does. What you got to do is like, hey, does that gasket look like it's cork? Maybe synthetic isn't the best option for that.
That's right.
if it's got any kind of like the last 30 years of gasket technology, which makes me sad because we're talking in the 90s, probably going to be all right.
Yep. It's kind of like ethanol fuel. If you're a vehicle that has been around in the last 10, 15 years, I understand small engines. I don't like ethanol fuel. Let me just, that's my stance. However, if you have a vehicle that's been produced since 2007, 2008, you're fine. Quit worrying about the ethanol particulate count and just drive it. Now, I'm not saying run out and buy 88.
No,
we're talked about that.
Blends fuel.
We're talking about fuel blends, the internal components, seats, so on and so forth.
Now, if you're a lucky person that has a 1947 motor with 1920 technology carburetors on it, then you might want to pay the $4.50 a gallon for rec fuel, which is what I did yesterday.
Tell us how that touched your pocketbook, right?
Oh boy.
Yeah. So as far as conventional oils are concerned versus synthetics, there was a big crossover period where people were trying to figure out if synthetic was good enough.
Oh, and once you did synthetic, you couldn't go back.
No.
Oh yeah.
No.
That line in the sand.
Yep. That, or if you've always used conventional and you switch to synthetic, now everything's
Motor
going to
blows up.
Yeah, it's bad, all bad.
Little alarm goes off of the engine.
But if you buy a new vehicle and it started with synthetic, you're fine. You can use synthetic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
A lot of misnomers, a lot of situations where humans were just trying to understand this technology that was kind of unfolding before our eyes.
Remember asking when you went to buy a used vehicle, what kind of oil did you run so I can run the same thing?
Absolutely. And we still do. And the thing is, I don't discredit anybody who wants to continue to run Schaefer's or Amsoil or Royal Purple or Redline or anything along those lines, if they've kind of started along that process, because according to those manufacturers, they do want you to continue to utilize their product, because they claim that after multiple oil changes, that's when the product really is doing its best. Again, that Schaefer's conversation, they really want you to have 3 oil changes in before you see the benefits of Schaefer's.
Yep.
Whereas a lot of other people running some of the standard auto parts store stuff, and you just have a regular runabout vehicle, as long as it's wet, this Jeep's not going to care. I'll be honest with you.
So I have to laugh at the fact that Joe Brilla did say, funny you should say that. We're leaving for Ouray and Moab on Friday.
Go figure.
And then, of course. But Jeff Babbitt is saying he doesn't have this form problem, but he's happy to hear about it. However, he's also mentioning he started using Valvoline Restore and Protect this summer.
And again, those types of, I remember when Valvoline came out with their high mileage blend.
Yep.
Valvoline does a great job of marketing the fact that they mix up ingredients different than other manufacturers.
And a lot of the high mileage oils are literally a synthetic blend, which means you have some conventional, some synthetic. And I did that for years on my older vehicles.
And that's, ultimately, I kind of liken, again, we'll use Valvoline as a talking point with a number of their different varied options. It's kind of like Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce.
Absolutely.
Or any other barbecue manufacturer who's got a line of different flavors.
Well, and Sweet Baby Ray's is a good example, because this one has garlic and this one doesn't, and this one's hot, and this one's mild.
And this one's got honey in it. And you get the same size bottle. It's make up the fluid ounces. I don't care. 12 fluid ounces. We have the same volume measurement, but we've got slightly different ingredients.
I don't know
per
what he's
each
barbecuing
bottle.
with only 12 fluid ounces.
I was going to say
for your
between
chicken
7
nuggets,
and
maybe.
400,000 again, but
You know what? He's got the right number. He's got the right number. So I know we talked about dyno oil not being the most appropriate.
Since we're going to be talking about engine issues, Joe Brella brought up, need I mention that our problem with my JKU started with an oil change?
dun, dun, dun.
I don't want to talk about it.
No, but we need to talk about 3.6 Pentastar failures in oil.
So I'll say my last piece on the air quotes dyno oil versus synthetic. By today's standards, if you're listening to this podcast and you have a modern engine, again, falling within that last 15 years, it does not matter. as far as whether it is a conventional oil or a synthetic.
Synthetic's better, but
you're probably better off with running a synthetic in general. You're going to get more wear and tear out of it depending on the abuse that you subject to it.
plus it's the tolerances of engines are smaller now, so the synthetic flows better through that.
That is 100%. I would agree with that sentiment. So, don't. And in fact, I would go further and say that I think you're wasting your money and your resource by trying to run a conventional in that last 15 year. It is like running rec fuel in that. If you have a JT that you picked up within the last 2 years, 3 years, I don't care what it is. And, it's just a regular run of the mill Gladiator, 37s and 48 gears and your expensive camping setup.
Right in the mill.
I was gonna say he started off good. I'm like, yeah, sounds like mine. And then he went into the 48 gears and expensive.
Well, the only thing you don't have is the 48 gears.
I don't have the
Otherwise,
you have 37.
you have the Conestoga wagon and the decked box. Gladiator owners might as well be Subaru owners. It's a club. It's just whatever. And
You're just jealous.
So I am so jealous. I watched this guy on a reel today just trash the Jeep Gladiator group. He had like 80,000 reacts to it, and it was like I don't even remember what he said and whatnot. But and I just thought I wanted that Jeep for 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, I remember the Comanche dying, and I wanted a 4-door convertible Jeep, and I still don't own one. I am jealous. But anyways, let's get back to the Subaru JT owners.
You got 5 minutes to get
Run of the mill JT owners. You do not need to run rec fuel. Fuel up your boat, because we all know that's all you're doing with your Jeep anyways. And
wow.
And just put in the oil.
I own a Jeep. I can't afford the boat.
That's right.
The manufacturer recommends, unless you're a direct injected oil consuming engine, and then you might want to do 520 versus 020.
Well, and that would be the thing, is that it's not even the direct injection. We're just seeing those 3.6s. We're seeing those 3.6s consume a little bit more oil for one reason or another. And again, I am jealous, and I do love you, JT owners. So if you do have,
don't cancel me.
If you do have the 3.6 Pentastar,
I'm sorry.
that's literally what you have.
I know. That's why I'm sorry.
So here's the thing. We literally have a customer, and I love this man dearly. He bought his 2012, I think. It was a 12, 13, 14, 2-door red JK. And he bought that Jeep new, to my knowledge. What's that?
So 13.
13, right, because it's got the sensitive steering angle sensor.
Yep.
Buys his Jeep, and he largely has it, the oil changes done solely at the dealership, because it's on some form of extended warranty process, and he wants to preserve it to the best of his ability. Then somewhere around 16 or 17, he comes to us for sole Schaefer's oil changes, and he is vigilant about his routine maintenance. Equally, he lives in an urban environment, and so honestly, he does not drive his Jeep tons and tons and tons. It actually will sit, and because of the sitting, sometimes he wouldn't even hit the incremental mileage, but he wanted the time frame done to have the oil changed. And so we would change the oil with Schaefer's. We did this just vigilantly through his ownership.
Like clockwork.
And he had a top-end rocker tick.
Yep.
And he came to us, and sure enough, like the rest of the dreaded JK 3.6s, and now we're seeing the JT 3.6s do it as well, he had a bearing failure at the top end of his engine.
Yep. And I still feel vindicated. It's just a very easy there.
I know. I got all excited. I'm fired up about
You have a
poor
very
design.
small bearing. And we've seen this failure on LS platforms as well, and they have a bigger bearing. And actually the upgrade on that is a bushing. Hint, Chrysler. Hint. Anyway, and on the JL, I think someone tried, like, had maybe a little tiny of an inkling of a clue.
Right.
And on one camshaft, they went to a different design that now we have a triple lobe scenario, which this is just my take of it. Now we have two side lobes that as the center one fails, it's going to clack less so that our clacking will happen later in life. And now it's out of the warranty period and they get to go, not my problem.
Yep. Wipe their hands of it.
And instead of having a roller now, we have a ski that is rubbing on the lobe. And guess what? It still wipes the lobe off.
Right.
And makes a nice little divot in it. So we really haven't fixed anything. We should go back to the 3.6 or the JK design, put a bushing in it.
Yeah.
And move on with life.
So, I mean, the thing is that arguably in the grand scheme of the world, and obviously we're a bit of an echo chamber because we speak primarily to our immediate target audience, which are Jeep owners. But if we were to get outside of the Stellantis mothership and we move into other auto manufacturers, they will say that our engines are noisy. And we oftentimes will, encounter customers who come from other, other platforms, and they're like, man, this engine is so noisy. And being able to differentiate, and we've had it happen a couple times, that certainly among the JKs, the injector noises sound
they're almost as loud as a tick.
They're almost as loud as the that tick of lifter, and so lifter rocker. There's a combination.
Usually when they forget to put the engine cover back on.
That's true, and that engine cover does have some sound deadening, purposes in there, and I have to wonder whether or not an engineer kind of knew that.
I absolutely did.
And that's actually part of that design, because otherwise we have noisy engines in the grand scheme of the automotive world.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the thing is, again, the ripple effect of ownership and automotive enthusiasts, the 4.0 and the 2.5 absolutely had lifter issues. Yep. All older technology.
So because we're stuck in the 4-liter and the 2.5 in 1963 technology, AMC never had adjustable tappets. Mm-hmm. They just didn't. They just kind of went with, it's okay. And because of that, as it wore, clearance would get further and it would get noisy. If you had a GM product back then, you could adjust the rocker arms and tighten up that clearance so it didn't make noise. Mm-hmm. And this is right with the AMC V8s and the straight sixes all the way up until it died in 06. So we grew up with our Jeeps just clattering. Yes. And that was, it's a Jeep. That's what it's supposed to do. And that was because it was just kind of good enough. It was a tractor motor.
Yep. It couldn't be adjusted. There was nothing you could do unless you want to go in and replace all the parts and pieces. Whereas other platforms, you could get in there and fine tune.
Yes.
You could get out your feeler gauges and you could do your due diligence and you could make adjustments. And in the AMC, kind of ancestry line, we weren't able to do that. We just had to be satisfied with noisy engines that just flat out worked.
Now, the downfall of that is that you have people that will transition vehicles about every 10 to 12 years, especially with Jeeps because they last a long time. So the person that traded in their 4-liter Jeep and got into a 3.8 Jeep or a 3.6 Jeep early on heard noises and they're like, meh.
Yep.
It's supposed to do that.
Yep.
Well, not
less.
And again, we have these tiny little roller bearings that should be a bushing, and that was causing failures. And something else I want to it's kind of related is I've heard everybody like the 3.6 has plastic on it. Oh my God, it's got plastic. That oil cooler is plastic and it's going to fail. It's not because it's plastic that it fails. Mm-hmm. It's literally seals that are rubber that fail. And when you go to an aluminum-based oil cooler, you're not doing anything for the seals.
Sure.
So guess what? The aluminum one's going to leak too eventually. Mm-hmm. And you have to have then faith that that company had just as enough time and money and effort to engineer that to last 100,000 miles that the original actually did. And then guess what? It failed. So.
Yeah. And the other downside to that, and just for clarity, is if you over torque the plastic cap or you're at the oil change place and they're
Don't be
going
a
too
gorilla.
fast. Yeah, I mean, and that's the challenge, is that did happen factually at a lot of those quickie oil change places.
Oh, yeah.
To kind of, I know we breezed over a little bit of the JK JLJT 3.6 top end failures, but I guess the sentiment there is that it's a mechanical design flaw as part of the top end design of the engines, and it's something that kind of realistically we've all kind of just accepted as true. We now replace camshafts more than we ever possibly could have imagined. If you go back in a time machine and you told young Neil or Scott that you would just be kind of dropping camshafts in and out of engines with regularity, I would have called you like freaking nuts, right?
Absolutely.
And now it's
And to be an in and out procedure.
Right.
correct. Oh my God! You would break that engine down. You'd send it out to get line board. It needed to be spec'd up from an engine
But
builder.
now it's like, it's just a little bit more than an oil change.
It really is, right? Which is such a fascinating piece. So kind of understanding that this is something we do accept as part of the process because of these design flaw elements. Jeep Chrysler Mothership knows it so much that we just recently completed the task on a JL that they have bundled.
Don't worry. They made it harder to do.
They did make it harder to do, and because of people trying to do it kind of like onesie twosie in kind of a cheapskate way, Chrysler, last we knew, won't even sell it onesie twosie. They're selling
You're
it as
buying the kit,
a complete bundled kit, which is giving you
the cam lifters and rockers all together.
all together. You can't even go onesie twosie at this point. So they did change the price point a little bit to reflect this bundle that they want you to buy, because if you were supposed to buy it piece by piece, you were like $2,000 just for the pieces.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was crazy.
The bundle saves you some money, but not
right. But not, we're not lighting the world on fire. So understand that. The last piece before we go off air and before Jeffrey reads a comment or two is the fact that the conversation of the 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 mile oil changes. Yep. I'm going to weigh in at a professional standpoint. And I'm going to say that as a business, we put $5,000 miles if we are to put a service interval sticker on your vehicle or a recommendation. Our professional recommendation is 5,000 miles.
Or if you're Neil's dad and you drive it 3 miles a day, then you should probably do a 3,000 mile oil change.
Exactly. I do not recommend the 10,000 mile oil change at this time.
Unless you're like, 2 trips to Moab in and you just haven't had time to do an oil change at your preferred place.
Yes, and unfortunately, what we tend to find on that is that you are low
that was
on
a cheap shot.
You are low on oil.
I'm sorry,
at
Joe.
that point. So I don't recommend the 10,000 mile interval necessarily. Also, understand that when I say we take the professional standpoint of 5,000 miles, I honest to Pete believe that oil is good to 7,000 miles. But I also know that life is busy for a lot of people. And if we tell you 5,
you're going to come in at 7.
You're going to come in at 7.
And if I tell you 7, it'll be 12.
Correct. So I just need you to know that. That's just how we operate. There's no hiding anything. Mm-hmm. I believe that the oil is still doing its job at 5,893 miles, just as good as it was.
It's not going to blow up because the check oil light or change oil light chain on the check oil might, but
Are you okay over there?
Sorry,
it's just stroked out on us. Can you put your tongue out? Is it to the side?
We may have done some in-house testing on that.
I needed to be tested the other day.
Rank 1 off-road and 4x4 says, you guys rock. We learned so much from you guys.
Outstanding. Thank you. We appreciate that. All right. Well, that was a quick, fast and furious. Man, I could keep talking oil. I'll be honest with you.
I know you could.
Oh my God, we
but
didn't
we
even
wanna
talk about
hear-
oil milkshake.
We want to hear why you were on the Jumbotron.
What is an oil milkshake? Really fast.
Nope, I'm not talking about it. You'll just have to stay in there. In the future, we'll talk about an oil milkshake.
Wow.
That was resolved because he really wants to talk about his Jumbotron.
Nah,
He does.
We, you know what, folks? I love our listening audience, and we value you being part of our greater Jeep family. Thank you so much for prioritizing this program as part of your listening infotainment experience. If you would like to reach us, we would love to hear from you. You can text us on our text-only number, 440-855-2100, or you can email us at contact, contact, at sfj4x4.com, or just head over to sfj4x4.com and fill out the contact form. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if there's a topic you would like us to address. We do get a lot of emails, a lot of different points of communication, so kind of bear with us as we sort through that kind of stuff, but we do look forward to hearing from you. With that said, we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of Jeeps on property. If you want to see what we're working on, tune in for Jeffrey's Tuesday live update, where he typically touches base with Scott on some of our ongoing projects. Additionally, a big shout out. I like to talk about gifts and all that kind of stuff. One of our ongoing CJ projects recently sent us a bunch of meat. Pretty happy with that. So we've got dogs and kielbasis and whatnot, or sausages.
That's kielbasa.
And
very excited about that.
Very excited about that. So thank you to Rob and Teresa for that gift. And as we move through, all of the Jeeps on site, you can tune in and check that out Tuesday, ambiguously at some time. So look for that notification on Facebook specifically. Until next time, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.
So I'm gonna make him wait.
No,
this
I,
thing.
Oh, no, that's
I
okay.
want to know how he got on the Jumbotron and
yeah, but
what if it was just a generic audience panning.
as
or if
long as he
did
was just with
something-
his wife, and not.
No.
And not with my
secretary.
secretary,
Oh, jeez.
right?
Was Coldplay playing?
The Coldplay, Coldplay concert. Dove into the stands.
So was it Kiss Cam?
No, not a kiss cam, and it was absolutely just a generic pan of the audience. Well, no. I mean, here's the thing. You know that old concept, like, hey, I'm gonna go to the bathroom so my food shows up at the restaurant.
Absolutely.
This was an inning change. My son participated in a baseball camp this summer, which then, as an extension, they had a celebratory day at the Cleveland Guardians versus the Chicago Laundry, which I thought was hysterical. They kept calling it the Chicago Laundry because it's the Chicago White Sox. I don't expect you to know that, Scott, but
I was starting to pick up on it.
yeah, I thought it was hysterical. But
Yeah.
so my daughter and a friend of hers, they're cheerleaders for little kids, and they kept cheering. I mean, like, they were cheering their heart out. Like, I actually eventually had to weigh in and be like, okay, I need you to stop, but and now my tolerance is high, but they were cheering so much that my son and his friend actually moved down about 15 seats. Our section, we were in the nosebleed, so whatever, and they moved down 15 seats. And so they were no longer sitting with us. So my wife and I and my daughter and her friend were hanging out. And like I said, they were awesome, and the girls were awesome and entertaining. And it was an inning change, and I zoned out. I started reading the news. There was a news push notification news article. And next thing you know, just square smack on us was the Jumbotron. And
You just
and I'm reading the news.
Scrolling.
So I'm scrolling, It was a great game, super fun, 3-2 end score.
But they absolutely made you look like the dad that doesn't care. or doesn't wanna
At
be there.
first, right?
Yeah.
But then no, I totally hands in the air, just wilded it out, had a great time. My son, at every bit of his preteen, angst, was so frustrated that they had actually moved down, and we got on the Jumbotron.
That's funny.
But we had a beautiful day in Cleveland, Ohio, and had a great family day. And that's pretty much where my weekends are at right now. As much as I'd love to say I'm working on cool projects or doing anything with the house build, I get like 15 minutes to myself this fall, and that's.
I
everything
question
else.
if I want to admit that I'm working on cool projects because it's a lot of physical labor.
But yeah, there's my Jumbotron story, and of course, just like those quirky experiences.
So I learned how you get Jeff the Builder to go exceed expectations. Is you set the most lowest bar possible because you feel that you've gotten kicked in the nads so hard that you just like, I need a win. So I'm going to go in and be like, if we just literally get dose things set,
yes,
which ended up kicking our butts,
uh-huh,
and one hole with cement in it, I'm a happy man.
and we're good.
That's literally what he started the day off with. And I'm like, no, we're going to see how we can go.
So when you do that, then you get 18 holes filled with cement. And your wife becomes the super, I don't even know what, machine. And she starts slinging bags of concrete in this machine.
Yep.
And Jeff had to run his butt off with a wheelbarrow. And I, of course, had started moving cement earlier in the day. So I was ruined by that point.
God.
He was using the forklifts. Let's just be honest.
But once I got to that point, once I was ruined. So-
He did do some physical labor. I'll give him credit.
But we started off with the side-by-side because we didn't want to move the tractor. So I was slinging them from the shed into the bed of the side-by-side, trying to use it as a 1-ton side-by-side.
I'm gonna go back, and just for anybody who's maybe just joining us recently, you had a massive shed garage collapse during
25
Snowmageddon.
by 40.
Yep. And we had a Snowmageddon 2024. It was November 2024.
Yep.
And the snow load, despite the fact that your shed should have been rated for it,
Yep.
was insufficient.
Yep.
For the shed was for the snow load, and it collapsed. And
Because
all
the
of your
shed was assembled poorly by the company you had previously
That's
had.
also true.
that's part of the process. And then of course you have your personal collection. There was some damage to that, and then the shed is obviously damaged. So you go ahead and eventually through the insurance process, you get plans that Jeffrey had helped draw up for a new
And
building.
inappropriately named and never changed the name before you went
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
store to purchase
You
those.
have to wait till that evening episode to find out what that name is.
Yeah. So you get that, and you buy this basically barn and a kit from Menards.
Yep.
And now Menards has given you a checklist of things, and you just appropriately paid for it.
Yep.
And you've gone to retrieve it
Yep.
periodically.
Yeah.
And which they gave you 1,100 bags of
No.
80-pound concrete.
No, they
No.
gave him 24 bags.
They gave me 24
Because there's
bags.
24 posts.
And I'd love to know if in Lake County that's appropriate, but in Asheville they're like, no, that is not okay.
That's how many you need per hole.
You need a 24-inch hole, 5 foot deep, with a foot of cement in the bottom, which works out to be 6 bags per hole.
Approximately 6 bags per hole.
I'm sad I know this at this point.
80-pound bags.
60.
60-pound bags.
For some reason, Menards doesn't believe in 80-pound bags.
That's
Okay.
true.
Okay.
Because we tried to do the 80 pounds so that it would be less hauling of bags. but
Yes.
They're like, nah. So you can get 60 pounds.
All right. So this brings everybody up to speed on why
Thankfully,
you were manually mixing and pouring and hauling
so thankfully, they do
100 bags of concrete.
they have 11% off of everything. So that gave us a rebate since we bought the building there, since we now need way more concrete
Oh God.
because 24 bags does 4 holes.
Uh-huh.
And I was able to get 3,800 pounds of concrete, which I got to tell you, you got to load that on your char trailer properly. Otherwise, you may pick the back of your Gladiator off the ground.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, but because Jeff is a machine and my wife is a machine, and I just was like, I'm just going to follow directions and be a grunt
Yes.
until my gut hurts, which obviously didn't take long because
Uh-huh.
weak animal or muscles down there. But anyway, we got all that done, and now we are set up for hopefully finishing strong. We found out about cave-ins on holes, so that's great. So we actually have to dig down 6 holes.
6. Yeah, you have 6 holes left. Ironically, we had exactly enough concrete to do the 18 that were deep enough.
That's because I had set such a low bar. Jeff manifested that we were going to just end strong.
I used up
Perfection.
all of his concrete, and said, "Okay, now we're done. You can go get more concrete."
Yeah. Literally. So I have a shed again. It's weird.
Oh my!
There's space in the shed.
You're not
Until you buy
supposed
more
to. You're supposed to
concrete.
go buy more concrete.
I'm going Thursday.
There you go.
Okay.
And hopefully next weekend update, we'll say we have that done. We're ready for inspection. And then we can try to,
You have to have this inspected again.
Yep.
A couple times.
and then we have to put the poles up and start framing. And then I think they have to come out again and make sure that looks copacetic. Yeah, we'll have a christening of the building when finally all that's done.
This is the most intense requirements for a building that I've ever been involved with, because whatever weird code and uplift protection is required in this county for a post frame construction.
Certain nails, certain spacing.
I mean, I get codes always had the specific nails and that, but the amount for the footing that goes into this is insane.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, this is a low goal. By the time the building collapsed, I'm hoping we have poles and a roof.
Year to date,
Yeah,
the goal
that is my goal.
is poles and a roof.
And I'm hoping that means that Jeff the Builder will have a completely done building, is what I'm hoping.
I'm hoping that we get to
Holy
utilize,
cow!
I'm hoping we get to utilize Greg when we get to the trusses.
Yeah.
Because his skill set will help us advance that way faster than I can.
Wow.
Yep. So that is what our weekend. And then in that theme, one of the vehicles that was crushed by that was my wife's hand-me-down project from her dad when he passed away. Ruined the cab roof pretty severely on it. And I went and got a new-to-me cab that between the two of them, hopefully I'll have a cab to put back on this thing. So that was my Sunday.
Nice.
Nice.
Well, that sounds pretty good. Did you do anything Sunday, Jeff?
I did do.
I
We
know
had
you
our
had some
board
family
meeting.
day.
We had our board meeting for the nonprofit, third quarter board meeting. So we went through that, and then I was like, "We're in Erie. I don't have Fox at home. I can't watch Steelers if I go home. We're gonna go somewhere." So we went to Permane Brothers, had a nice lunch there, watched the first half of the game, and then we went and picked up. Xander was with my aunt, so we picked him up and took him to Spirit because he's the only one that hadn't picked up his Halloween costume yet, and so we let him pick out his Halloween costume, and my wife and I got our costumes as well, so that because we've got a
If you
party
don't
we're
know,
going to on Halloween.
Halloween's a big deal at the
Halloween is Christmas for this year.
Chimichanga residence.
It's true.
Chiramontes and their Halloween endeavors. I was like, I'm thinking Halloween, dude.
Listen,
I can't even get through the week at this point. My kids will be glad if they have a costume 3 days beforehand.
we have not got to do much for Halloween parties since we've had kids, and with Kristen not being very social, we don't typically go to the ones we're invited to. This year we were invited to another one, and I said we're gonna go. She said,
Nice.
"Yep, let's do it." So we did a couple's costume. I'll reveal that later, but
My wife also wants to do a couple's costume, but it would not be appropriate to reveal except for on the the late night.
Oh dear.
yeah, that's fair. I can only
I think
imagine.
Jeff's doing the horse.
No,
That would make too much sense.
no.
Oh my gosh, folks. All right. Well, we do, in fact, have Jeeps to work on, and we love that we can share with you in so many ways. So make sure to jump back in as the week progresses for the Tuesday update, and find us on YouTube for an upcoming video. Until next time, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Keep on.